Welcome to the Level Up with Josh Pratt podcast, where you're invited to learn from my remarkable guest and lead a purpose-driven life. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Level Up with Josh Pratt podcast. I have my great friend and guest, Dave Posin, here on the show. Dave, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good, living the dream. Happy to be here. Excited to talk shop.
All right, cool. Yeah, so Dave was kind enough to take some time out of his day. I'll do a brief little bio on Dave so you guys get a little taste on who he is, and then I'll let him expound more as we dive in. So Dave grew up in Rockville, Maryland, went to Wooten High School, go Patriots, and then he went to Denison University in Ohio for just 1 year, right?
Short stint in Denison, yep.
And then went to McDaniel. And growing up, I know in our pre-call you had mentioned, as a young kid, your parents were divorced at when you were in third grade, and we'll talk a little bit about that maybe. And then I guess after college, you walked, went through a whole bunch of job interviews, and I don't know, I just didn't find that perfect fit, right? And what's led you to Soldier Fit. So yeah, I guess with that, let's just start with I guess your childhood, your parents' divorce.
I mean, I can just kind of dive in as a brief story. It's interesting. Whenever it says someone tells your story, you ever seen the movie Goonies?
Oh, dude, of course.
It's a classic, right? You remember the scene when Chunk has his hand in the blender? And the
Yes.
Fratellis are like, tell me everything. And he's like, everything? And then he's like, in third grade, I stole my grandfather's toupee and put it on the dog. I feel like that's the like, how far do I go back? But I guess kind of a quick deep dive. Maybe something someone doesn't know about me. I was born in Indiana. Lived there for a very short stint. I have family. My mother's side is from there. I grew up in Maryland. We went to high school together. And then, I played football, and, I graduated, played football in college, went to McDaniel College, first stint in Denison, and we can kind of dive into that a little bit more. And then from there, I got into the fitness field. And I think it was obviously something that I've always been passionate about, playing sports and everything like that, and kind of the story through building Soldier Fit and everything like that. But if you rewind, I mean, I guess if we talk about a couple monumental, moments growing up and changes, I mean, one in particular, I know we talked about this on the call the other day. We talked about like impact and people that have such a, monumental like stamp on someone's life. And one of those moments, for me was one of my coaches in high school. I was always a good football player. I played well enough to play varsity my sophomore year, but I really wasn't prepared. I did really well freshman year. My sophomore year, I really honestly got my butt kicked. I didn't train in the off season, and it beat me down a little bit, and I started training in the off season, and my Coach Trivers, went up to me, and he had kind of one simple conversation that changed the trajectory of where I come from. And I don't even know if he remembers this story, right? It might have been just kind of a blip in the radar for him and just such a monumental thing for me. But he said, look, Dave, you have something special. There's a lot of people that look up to you, and a lot of people want to follow you. He's like, but there's a lot of people, because they want to follow you, there's people that are going to try to tear you down as well. He said, fight through the noise. He said, get through the other side. He said, because you are going to do big things. And again, it was just such a simple thing of what he said to me, but it gave me that internal belief, that internal confidence that, was kind of knocked out of me the season prior. And I think it's so big to have someone in your life that can do that, or maybe be someone in someone's life to just give them that blip of hope, that little bit of confidence, that little bit of belief,
Totally.
to take them to the next level. And I always consider myself a confident guy, so it wasn't anything that like I drastically needed, or else I was going to go down some hole of alcoholism and drugs. Right? I still had my stuff together, but it definitely flipped the switch and really gave me the belief that I was going to do great things. And it
Yeah.
kind of takes me into, not to veer off too much, but like as a parent, especially. And I go back to, him telling me that. I guarantee if you ask him 100 things that he told me, he would never remember that moment. And I feel that way as a parent a lot of times too. What impact, like what little thing am I telling my kid that maybe I just pay no attention to,
Yeah.
but it's going to stick with them for the rest of their life. So it really causes me as a parent to be more intentional with what I said,
Yes.
um, and just make sure that, I don't want to say I'm setting lessons or anything like that. Um, but just, again,
You're
and it
laying.
also leads into guilt too, though. And so there is a positive and a negative to it because, I think a lot of parents, and if you're a parent listening to this, like we beat ourselves up too much on like worrying about every little thing we do and everything little thing we say and how it's going to affect our child. Like, don't let that take over, but just understand that, what we say and what we do, it matters. And it's important in a kid's life.
Yeah, I love that. Before you mention the negative side of things, I was gonna mention that. It's just like, yeah, we can instill confidence and we can instill belief and tell our kids, hey, we're so thankful you're part of our family. Our family wouldn't be the same without you. You're special in a variety of ways, and you kind of name off whatever they are. Um, but yeah, on the flip side, it's like if we have a quick, like snappy remark at one of our kids or a spouse or coworker, like just as you had this special moment that you hold on to, 20 plus years later with Coach Trivers, it could be the exact opposite for a lot of other people who are hanging on to something that their parent or their sibling or their coworker or their spouse, shot off in a imperfect moment that maybe they didn't even mean, but our words, yeah, they can carry a lot of weight, no doubt.
Yeah. And I think it's recognizing that if you do make that comment, being, I say, the bigger person, right? You should be the bigger person, especially when you're dealing with a child. But going back and realizing, like, oh, maybe that wasn't the right thing to say at the moment.
Yeah.
Let me at least either apologize or course correct. And so, maybe you're giving 10 positive affirmations because you realize that that one thing might not have been the best thing to say.
Yeah. I love that, man. And just being quick to apologize. Cause the minute you let it hang on, then you can either forget that you ever said something in the first place, or yeah, I mean, I think in all of our relationships, and I think that just really comes back to like the perfect, well-rounded individual is that if you are well-rounded and you're confident and you know you have flaws and you can address those and be transparent with your circle, you can say, hey, daddy's sorry. Like daddy made a mistake. Daddy had a long day. I took it out on you and it wasn't right. And I want you to know I'm sorry. So yeah, I love you. You were right one step ahead of me. So as you were kind of explaining that, I was like, oh, Dave's
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I got it, but
Well, you're
sometimes I
trying.
got it. But yeah, it's interesting you say that. We talk about not only saying the same thing, but funny story. So we just added a new location. So we actually moved one of our Gaithersburg locations into another location.
Real quick,
And
real quick.
yeah,
Can you
yeah,
tell the audience a little bit more about Soldier Fit, and then you can, if you wouldn't mind continuing about your new location and your story. Hope I don't.
yeah, no problem. So I own a company called Soldier Fit. We're a functional fitness boot camp franchise. We focus on both physical transformations and mental transformations. Anything physical, from like helping people lose 100 pounds, to mental transformations, taking someone who maybe was lacking confidence, not comfortable in their own skin, maybe intimidated about the thought of exercising, and kind of transforming them into, someone who, sits up straight, is happy with who they are, and everything like that, right? So we focus on both of the physical and the mental side. So we have 11 total locations. We started here in Montgomery County. Gaithersburg was our first location. Interesting story about that, and I can dive in. I don't want to steer too cross, but yeah, just remind me to talk about the permitting process for our Gaithersburg location. But
Got
back
it.
to kind of the story to circle back. We were preparing the Gaithersburg location and opening a location. It's, there's a lot of heavy lifting. There's a lot of work involved. Team was working hard. We had a gentleman there that was helping put together a racking system. And what we thought was going to be an easy install ended up being a complete nightmare. We had to drill this thing into the ground, into concrete. We didn't have the proper tools. We're scrambling all over the place. We drill a bolt in. It gets stuck. Now we need to pull it out. We can't get it out. We don't know what to do. So we get this hacksaw and we're just grinding away at this thing. If anyone's who's cut through a bolt that's like this thick with a hacksaw, it's a lot of manual work, right? So he's grinding, and he's getting frustrated and starts getting pissed off. And he throws the thing down. He's like, I gotta take air, and he flips out. And I said to him, like, I guess something I would have said to my kid. I said, look, you know, just remember your superpower is staying calm in these stressful situations. And he's like, I know. He's like, you're right. And I was like, I know it feels good to get angry. Like you feel alive when you get mad and you lash out, right? But no, like any 2-year-old can have a tantrum. And so I kind of tie this back into parenting, or if you're an employer, right? Like it's very easy to just flip a switch and yell at your kid, and it might feel good for a minute because you've flashed out and you've taught them the lesson. But the real superpower as an individual or person is being able to be cool and collective in those crazy, chaotic situations. So
Yeah.
if you can always keep that in the back of your head, just like, okay, I truly am the bigger person. Like strength isn't lashing out and yelling at someone. Like true strength is being calm and collect in those situations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I love that. As you're kind of talking about that, I just am constantly reminded how much I love my wife when I see my daughters adopting her characteristics, right? And so when they're like sweet and kind and say nice remarks and comments, like I'm like, wow, you know, it just reaffirms to me like I made the right decision. And along to your point, yeah, if you as a parent or employer can again keep calm and just stay the course, like your point's going to get through even better, right? And I like that. Your superpower is staying calm in the face of adversity or anger.
That's
Yeah.
it. You got it.
Okay. Permitting. Tell us about the permitting story.
Yeah, so I guess if we backtrack, and I kind of can tell you about the story of Soldier Fit and how we got started. So me and my business partner started the company Soldier Fit. We started back in 2007. At the time we were just kind of a small personal training company. We ran boot camps on the side of the road, and we grew it into eventually opening our own location. And we signed a lease. I think it was like 2011 in Gaithersburg. From our sublease, we signed our actually first brick and mortar lease, and we're super excited to get open. I knew nothing about the lease process. I was super optimistic. I was like, we'll sign the lease and we'll get this thing open in 30, 60 days. However, Montgomery County and the universe had different plans. We ended up, it took so long, we ended up signing another lease to another facility and ended up opening that facility before the other one. And it just so happened we opened two brick and mortar facilities within like 3 months apart. So talk about opening my first brick and mortar business. Now I got two brick and mortar businesses within a 3 month period.
Wow. How
So
close
I
were
mean,
they? Like,
well, one was Frederick, Maryland, one was Gaithersburg. So about a 30-40 minute drive.
okay.
And we already had sublease space acquired for those locations, so we weren't going in without any revenue. We had staff built up and everything like that. But
Okay. So you were okay, with that, you had two locations. Did it go, swimmingly well? How did it go?
well, does anything go swimmingly well, right?
When you're starting your own business, typically no. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's always kind of bumps in the road and everything like that as far as business goes. I mean, we were blessed to, have an incredible team around us, super dedicated, working hard. Our member group is super loyal. We have an incredible culture within the organization. So, things can go as best as they can go. You know what I mean?
yeah. Two moments I wanted to chime in on. So you had said you started working out prior to, fall of your junior year, it sounds like that summer. And as you said that, I actually remember because we grew up not too far from each other, but I remember you running along Dufeef Mill. Does that like, but you lived a little ways from there.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm assuming I ran pretty far, but yeah.
Okay, cool. So that was the one thing. And then the other thing you said is like you went in with this like optimism of hey, this is gonna work out, nothing's holding us back. There was this study done by University of Pennsylvania, and they had interviewed like I want to say like 35,000 different individuals that had started businesses over like a long period of time. But like one of the number one thing that they found was that these people that succeeded, they were that was the main characteristic of them is that they were and in fact I even made notes on it earlier and not knowing we'd get there, but
It's almost like an unrealistic expectation of the future. Like your vision is so big and so large that like nothing is going to throw you off. And when you say to someone else, you sound crazy, you sound nuts,
yeah,
right? And those are the people that end up doing great things for
yeah.
sure.
And
And
that's
I'm
what
not familiar with the study, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean you hit the nail on the head. It's basically people that are optimistic and they keep trying new things until they've learned it, right? And then to your point again where people are kind of like, "Oh, you're crazy. It's not going to work. There's already so many gyms out there and how are you going to compete?" It's like you have to have this kind of like short-term memory or just like this overwhelming amount of I don't want to say false confidence, but like, you know, confidence
I think that's a
beyond.
good word.
Yeah, I mean it's not
I think
false,
false
but
confidence is right. Yeah.
it's a big deal, at least in your own mind, right?
Yeah,
Um,
look, when we first started Soldier Fit, I mean, there was a time where we were begging people to wear our t-shirts. I mean, we would literally go around the gym. We'd have a box of t-shirts with our company name on it, and we'd beg people to wear them. We'd give them to for free. Like, can you please wear our shirt so
yeah,
that we would look bigger than we are? And there was a time we had like 100 people around town and in the gym wearing our shirt, and we probably had like 3 clients.
yeah,
People were like, "Dude, what's going on? Who are these Soldier Fit guys? Like these guys are blowing up."
yeah,
And I mean, it was just obviously one of those things that we did. But back to this is interesting. You talk about this study. I read this the other day. We talk about a false sense of confidence. There was also a study done on things that we worry about. So the negative side, the pessimistic side, they say that 85% of the things that we worry about never happen.
yes,
And I think that is, you talk about anxiety, anxiety always, it lives in the future, right? And that's why people they think about the future and all the bad things that could happen in the future. If we understand that 85% of those things never happen, and the remaining 15% out of the 15% remaining, only 12% happen as bad as you think it is.
hmm.
So that means just 3% of your negative thoughts happen as bad as you think they are going to happen. Like, how
Yeah.
crazy is that?
Again, I think that's just like human nature, right? It's like where we want to focus on the negative, and I think there's such strength, and you and I are on the same page about this, but like there's this doctor who studies brain health, and he says you got to kill ants, ants, ants meaning automatic negative thoughts. And his name's Dr. Amen, but I love that. Yeah, I love what you just said. It's just there's so much pervasiveness that can enter into the mind with the world that we live in. So I think you've got a good thing going where you've already got your fitness routine going, but when you can couple that with like mental health, I mean, they're going to be, have this symbiotic relationship, but
Yeah.
you're
I mean,
doing really well there.
I mean, obviously I'm a big believer in fitness, right? I own a fitness company, but I truly do believe that fitness is like the foundation. It's the iceberg. If you don't have your health and fitness, not too many things are going to follow, right? Because if you look at what it takes to be in shape or to be healthy, it takes discipline, right? That means that you are doing the same thing over and over and over and over again
Yeah.
until you get a result. It means you're not quitting, right? It means you're doing hard things when you don't want to. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, right? Like there's times that I don't feel like working out. There are times that you don't feel like doing certain things, but you do it anyway. And those little things, when you fulfill on your self promises, they build more grit, right? They
Yeah.
build more confidence, and you're constantly stacking wins upon wins upon wins. And if you look at anyone who's in great shape, you says, okay, this is a person that I can rely on, right?
Yeah.
This is a person that I can trust. This is a person that I know is not going to give up on me. This is a person that's going to do and follow through with what he says. And so utilizing fitness as a foundation, everything just kind of falls in line. It's almost like a domino effect. And I truly, truly believe that.
Yeah. This question I have for you is one of my favorite quotes is persistence breaks down resistance. You're talking about, forming a habit, right? And for you, does it become that much easier, every day? If you're working out every day and it's not even like it just becomes so automatic where it's like, hey, I wake up, I put on my shoes, I go for a run, like, or whatever it is. Is that the case for you and people that are like-minded, would you say?
That's a good question. So there are two sticking points that I see in people's fitness journey if we get into it. One is getting started, right? People always say like the first step is getting started. That's the hardest step. It is until you get started. Because once you get started, then you have this excitement. And then around like week 5 or week 7 of doing something over and over and over again, like the sexiness starts to wear off a little bit. That excitement starts to waver. And that's the second sticking point. That's when people start dropping off. And so if you can get someone past that, really with anything, whether it's, fitness, whether it's business, anything in that, if you can get past that week 5 or week 7, then yes, things do go on autopilot. But that doesn't mean that it's as easy as brushing your teeth. Because like I said before, there are times that I don't feel like doing things in my business. There's times that I don't feel like doing things, working out. But
Yeah.
I know how I feel when I don't do them. And I think that drives me a little bit more than how I feel when I do.
Yeah.
It's that, I know that if I don't work out, it's going to put me in a bad mood. I'm not going to be the person that I want to be for my business, for my family, for my friends. And so I just say, look, I have a bigger responsibility, not just to myself internally, but I have a bigger responsibility to other people. And so working out is a priority for that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm pretty active, but could I be more active for sure? Juggling 5 kids and early mornings and stuff. Like there's everyone has excuses, so I guess not even get into that. But I was gonna say, okay, what about like the science of it? I'm sure you've got some of the science down where it's like, hey, if you're working out and you get these endorphins pumping, and because I know anyone that gets a workout in, the rest of their day is completely changed. Can you
Yeah.
speak
I
to
mean,
that?
it is science. Your body's releasing chemicals, it's releasing endorphins, it's releasing dopamine. And so it's like, okay, so where do you search for those dopamine hits? You can search and get it naturally through fitness,
Mm,
or you can get it temporarily from what? Medication, pills, scrolling social media, seeing
yeah,
someone like your post, like you get a dopamine hit. But the problem with that is it wears off, right? You get a spike and then it wears off. Where
yeah.
exercise and fitness, you're in an upward trajectory for a longer period of time. You're staying in that high state, you know?
Okay, I want to go. Okay, just a little bit more on fitness. So, like, is there any exercises that you're like, look, stay away from? Because you always kind of hear these conflicting things, like running, it's bad for your, joints and it's high impact and things like that. But like in your industry, are you telling people like, hey, let's stick kind of away from these types of exercises?
Not necessarily because it's so different for each person. I mean, the people that we'll deal with, and the people that come in with Soldier Fit are mostly beginners, which is probably what most people don't expect. You hear the name Soldier Fit, you think like, okay, this is an intermediate advanced program. There's that barrier to entry where people think it is hardcore, but we're like your friendly drill sergeant. So most people that start with us are beginners. I mean, I'd say 80%. And so for most of those people, it's just, man, let's just get you moving.
Yeah.
Like, let's just get your body moving in the right direction, whether it's body weight exercises, light weights, something so that you can stack and build upon that.
Yeah.
And so, I think that the biggest mistake is thinking that cardio is going to solve all of your problems. Because
Yeah.
what happens with cardio is you burn calories during your cardiovascular state, but yet you're not doing anything for your body to help speed up your metabolism so that your body ensures that it's burning fat throughout the day.
Mm.
Whereas if you are doing resistance training, not only is it good for your bones, good for supporting muscle, good for your joints, but what you're doing is every pound of muscle you add on, you're speeding your metabolism up that much more. So not only are you burning fat during your workout, but literally you sleeping, you sitting at work, your body is now a more efficient machine burning calories. And so
Yeah.
strength training and resistance training to me needs to be a staple in someone's program, even if you are trying, especially if you're trying to lose weight. And I think that, people think the opposite. They think just cardio, cut calories, win. But it's
Yeah.
really the opposite. It's strength training plus eating more will help make sure that you burn fat and lose weight.
Good. I think that's gonna clarify a lot of misconception among our listeners. Would you mind sharing the story about you and your mom and you trying to get into college football? What that looked like for you guys?
Yeah, so I mean, my goal always is to play college football, through high school. And my high school football coach my junior year, I don't want to say he was a bad coach. He was just inexperienced. He was a history teacher, never coached football in a day in his life. And so from a assistance from recruiting perspective, I really didn't have much help. So me and my mom would literally sit there and we'd go through game film and we'd cut and chop up film and create highlight tapes together. Like we'd be sitting in our living room creating highlight tapes, and then she would like send them and mail them out to the college coaches. I mean, normally this is the responsibility for, the high school coach or health department or athletic department. But kudos to mom. Appreciate you. Love you. Thank you for doing all that work for me.
You know, I mean, along that line, do you think you would have made it into college, playing college ball without her?
I probably wouldn't have gotten the looks that I got. Definitely not. The money that I received for schooling, I don't think that would have been available. So I would say no. I mean, I would have been off to my own devices. Who knows where I'd be?
I love the idea of this like 50-year-old mom like sitting down with her like 17-year-old boy, just slicing this up, and you're like, let's use this one. And she's like, maybe not have a real strong clue of what's going on with football, but
Mom doesn't mess around. She's a hard charger. So
cool.
yeah.
And then okay, so you're wrapping up your high school career as a running back and safety, and then with any high school senior where you decide to go to college is it's a big deal, and so at the end of the school year, everyone's rocking like their t-shirts and hats of where they're going to school. You decide on Denison, which I'm sure was major for you. Why don't you tell us like what that was like and what made you want to pivot and come back to McDaniel?
Yeah, so I got recruited heavily to Denison. It was a school in Ohio to play running back, and I went there, and I felt out of place. Forget football for a second. Just like it wasn't for me. And I remember one situation in particular that just summed it up. We were during 2 days. It was probably like my second day with the football team. We're sitting at a table. It's about 15 football players. You'd think that these guys would be talking football and playbook, and the conversation was like, "What did you guys get on your SATs?" And these guys are sitting there like, "Oh, I got 1,400, 1,500," and everyone's blurting out their numbers. And meanwhile, I'm just kind of sitting back like, oh, shit. Like, hopefully they don't ask me what I got. I mean, I think I got like a 10-9. I broke 1,000, right? But I wasn't in the category of these guys.
Yeah.
And so I felt just very out of place. Really, I felt stupid. I felt dumb. And I consider myself a pretty intelligent guy. And I didn't feel that way. Like, for example, I mean, you in these classrooms, I mean, the teacher would ask a question and like everyone's hand would go up, and I would be the guy without my hand up. Literally the only one in class without their hand up. And so I think it just kind of it broke me down. It beat me up. It gave me less confidence. We talk about belief in the positive way earlier. This did the complete opposite.
Hmm. Yeah. As you're kind of sharing that story, you were probably just being honest where some of these other kids may have not been honest, but I can just kind of like see 18-year-old Dave there, like they're all talking about their SAT scores. They like, what about you, Dave? And you just like shove a sandwich in your mouth, like, oh, I can't talk, you know. Uh,
Yeah, I don't know what I did or what I said, but I was just, yeah, I'm out of this conversation. You guys go ahead and have it.
I mean, I think, yeah, just being honest, because at that age, you probably have a lot of guys whose ego precedes them, and they can't be honest with themselves and others. So all right. So you transfer out of Denison, it just wasn't a good fit. McDaniel worked out well for you, I imagine.
Yeah, I loved it there. It was a great school. I mean, I went from Wooten. We weren't very good. I think we maybe won 3 games a season. It wasn't very like established football program.
I have to chime in here real quick, just as a quick shout out to all my fellow soccer players. I think we may have outscored you guys a couple different seasons. I could be wrong, but
I think
that's
we got to check tape on that. I don't know how valid your sources are,
fact
but
check it. See, my senior year, yeah, we'll see. But anyway, no. Okay, so McDaniel was good. Wooten wasn't.
yeah, yep. And Denison wasn't either. I think we won 2 games. We were heavy passing offense. I was a running back, and so McDaniel. It was Western Maryland at the time. For those listening, we were like top 5 in the nation, top 6 in the nation. So very very solid football program. Had a lot of fun, learned a lot, graduated with a business degree, minor in communications, and then from there, I was kind of, where do I go, right? And I always thought like, okay, go to high school, go to college, get a job. So I was like, okay, let me just kind of follow that routine. And so, I threw on the suit and tie and I jumped into a bunch of different interviews. I was interviewing for desk jobs and selling copiers and things like that. And I just said, look, this just isn't for me. Like I can't see myself, stuck in an office all day doing this. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It just wasn't the path that, I wanted to enter in. And so from there, I got a job selling gym memberships. I think I was making like $7 an hour plus commission. It was great. So I did that for some time, and thankfully I was really good at it. And I got promoted to a general manager position where I got to lead individuals. So I got to learn the industry from kind of a management leadership role. I think I was like 23, leading about 50 different people, in different departments. So I learned a lot. And then I got promoted to area director, which then I got to oversee multiple different facilities. So now I got to see things on a 30,000 foot view. So I got to see it from like an ownership perspective.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that, that helped me then kind of prepare myself for, starting Soldier Fit. And through that time, while I was working there, I met my business partner. We came up with the concept Soldier Fit. And the name, interesting enough, came about. We were just sitting in the office and, CrossFit, I don't know if you've heard of CrossFit, but they were really popular at the time. And we were like, look, we see all these different gaps in the fitness industry. We really wanted to create something that was community based, but revolved around like military ideals. And really, there was no one doing it. Different boot camps, but it was like dynamic fitness boot camp, Brian's boot camp. There was nothing that was super, military focused. So we were like, CrossFit was popular. We're like fit, and we said Soldier Fit. And we're like, boom. As soon as we said it, our eyes lit up. We went to like the USPTO.gov website,
Got after.
trademarked it, and then we were off to the races. And really, it was kind of slow growing at that point. We were we were operating inside of the gym. We were on a dirt road. We almost closed the business.
Hmm.
We almost closed the business. Soldier Fit was almost, wouldn't have been where it is now. Fitness First had started their own personal training company. It was a gym that we worked out of, and they were kicking out all the independent trainers. My
Yeah.
business partner was an independent trainer at the time. And so, we were on the verge of saying, like, look, there's nothing that we can do. This is where we get our clients. Like, let's just hang it up. And we were very thankful. A gentleman named Mike Moses, who owns Evolve Academy, he allowed us to go into his facility and operate Soldier Fit for free, which
Wow.
was just an incredible thing for someone to do, especially if you're a business owner, to let somebody else come into your facility and not charge them any rent just to help them out.
Yeah. Real quick on that. What kind of business was it that he had?
He had a martial arts company, still
Okay.
one of the best martial arts, operations in the area. And we had trained there, so we had developed a relationship with him.
So you're saying you and your business partner had trained with him. That's what was my next question, is how that relationship came about.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Relationships, man. Relationships, it's where it's at. I mean, obviously we all want to live the golden rule, but at the end of the day, regardless of whatever industry you're in, relationships matter and they trump everything else. This summer I took my family on a trip and did I lose out on money on deals? Like 100% yes, but I don't care because like I'm going to this family reunion in Canada and I'm creating core memories with my kids. And there's always going to be another deal. Like there's always going to be something that can pull you away from what's most important.
relationships is a new currency. That
Yeah.
is 100% true. And so he allowed us to go into his facility, and we prepped for our first class. I'll never forget. It was 8:30 p.m. because we couldn't operate during the main times because he had martial arts going on. So we operated like a 4 p.m. and a 8:30 p.m. workout. And so we prepped a workout for like 5 people. And when we got in, there was 35 people knocking at the door. Like, wow, I think we have something here. I think there's
How did
something magical about this.
Yeah, how did that happen? Because you'd already been doing your stuff at Fitness First, and those people just kind of caught word and they loved what you guys were doing. They're like, oh, well, if this is where I got to be at this time to get in with these guys, I'm going to be there.
It was just word of mouth. Facebook existed. I think MySpace might have been pretty prevalent at the time. So I just aged myself a little bit.
Mhm.
But through kind of organic outreach, creating relationships, knowing people, talking to people in the academy, word just spread. And me and my business partner just said, okay, this has wheels. Like, let's grow this thing.
Okay, so you answered one question I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, like, what crucial moments were there in your journey? What pivotal moments were there? And you talked about Mike and him offering this space to you guys at no charge, which was a tremendous blessing to you guys. Is there any other pivotal key moments where you're like, if this didn't happen, or if we didn't meet this person or get into this space at this rate, was
Yeah,
there
I
any?
mean, there's definitely a few, and one of them was, a decision that I had to make. So at the time when we started Soldier Fit, I was still working at Fitness First, right? And I couldn't be all in because it was a conflict of interest. So really, it was just my business partner doing all of the work, and I was just there to help. Like whatever assistance you need, I'm there to help. A lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And I'll never forget it. My business partner gave the greatest sales pitch of all time. He came to my house, and at the time, I had just got engaged. I had just bought a house, so now I have a new mortgage. And he gave me a sales pitch to leave my full time job and come into Soldier Fit full time. He's like, look, in order for this thing to grow to what I believe it can be, he's like, I need you there 100%. He's like, you have to be all in. I was like, dude, I just bought a house. Like, I just got engaged. I was like, I got a 6-figure job here. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. Right. Took the leap of faith. I dove all in. I quit my job like the next day. I went from making 6 figures down to probably like 30,000 a year. And that was that. I mean, that was a pivotal moment for me. And it was a scary moment. It really was a frightening moment in my life that I could have gone one the other, which would have changed the trajectory of my life and possibly the trajectory of Soldier Fit and everyone else that's involved in the company.
What I like about that story is your business partner, he had to be vulnerable and because here he is like putting his whole self into this business and you're there kind of like backup support. And he has to be vulnerable and put himself out there and be like, hey, like with the idea that he may get shot down, right? Like I don't know, maybe that was tough for him, maybe it wasn't, but I like that the conversation was had. Tough conversations oftentimes are leading to wonderful, wonderful endings. So, okay. We we talked a little bit about this the other day. So, what role does faith have in your life? Like, I know you mentioned you believe in God. What role does it play in your life as a parent, business owner?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself someone super religious. I'm Jewish. My wife's Christian. I was bar mitzvahed. I went to Hebrew school and everything like that. I'm not super religious. I go to synagogue maybe. I go once a year. I go once a year in Yom Kippur. That is the one time that I go. I get to be forgiven for all my sins. It's the highest holiday in the Jewish religion, and I think for us and our kids, I just want to show them both religions, the culture of both, the history of the Jewish people, of Christianity. We celebrate Hanukkah, we celebrate Christmas, and so I don't make them choose one or the other or force anything down their throat. They're going to attach to what they believe in. I just want to create good characteristics, raise good kids, and some of those translates to things that are, you know, in the religion, in the Bible, right? New Testament, Old Testament, everything like that. I don't think it necessarily drives me on a daily basis
Yeah.
as much as it does most, but it certainly is a big part in our lives. I mean, I think that we get together for the Jewish holidays. It brings the family together. My stepmother was a Hebrew school teacher, so for all the holidays, she kind of does these plays for the kids. So
Yeah. She didn't have Chunk as a one of her former
I
students, did
hope I
she?
hope not. I hope not.
Yeah, I mean, I think, faith, as you mentioned, it is important in that developing characteristics, godlike characteristics is important. And I guess I'm going to press you a little bit on this because I look at you as a person that's pretty well rounded, right? Like you've done well. You got a scholarship out of high school. You developed this business from the ground up, and you're a fitness guru, right? If you want to call it that. I mean, you're living it. So you've got like your financial stuff figured out. You've got your mental clarity and coaching kind of figured out. Does the spiritual side of things, does it ever kind of compel you? Do you ever feel like, hey, maybe I need to lean a little bit more into God and kind of figure out this relationship, or where are you at with that?
I don't think so. I mean, I think maybe as I'm older, it may come into play a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I again, I'm not a super religious person, so I'm not one to talk in too much detail about it. But one thing that religion provides really, really well is a sense of community,
Yeah.
a sense of like if you feel lost, you can always go back and lean on your religion, and maybe those that believe what you believe or that are in the church or that in the synagogue. For me, I guess I'm blessed also to have a very good support system already. With my wife, with my kids, my family, my friends, my employees, my business partner. And so for me, I have that, kind of sense of belonging and sense of community. And so, I don't want to say like that I'll never lean on religion for that purpose. It's just not something that I think about on a daily basis.
Sure, sure. Um, okay, well, so I guess any other last remarks before we kind of wrap this up is maybe someone that's looking to get into fitness or looking to, just get back into the routine of working out, or even like on the business side of things, like, and I guess these are two different questions, and you can kind of take it whichever way you want. But
Sure.
hey, someone that's wanting to start their own new business, either of those or both.
Yeah, I mean, I think that paralysis by analysis is a reason why a lot of people don't start things, whether it's fitness or business. They come up with all the reasons why they shouldn't, and so they overanalyze too much when they could say, like, look, these are the things that can go right, and I'll never know until I do them. You know, can I be more prepared? Can I hire a coach, hire a mentor, hire a trainer to make sure that I'm doing things correctly? Yes. But I still think that you need to take the leap of faith and the jump if it is something that you're truly passionate about, especially when it comes to business. And then from there, right, you either learn on the fly, you either pay the price of learning by making mistakes, or you hire someone who's made those mistakes before so that you don't have to make them and you can collapse time, right? You
Yeah.
can buy more time. Um, you can succeed faster than normally you would if you did it on your own. And it's the same thing with fitness, right? You can do it on your own, which is great, but if you want to make sure you minimize your mistakes and you want to, I should say, get faster results, then you need to find a professional to do it, right? It's just like anything. If a pipe breaks in your house, could you probably YouTube and fix it? Yeah, you probably could, but is it probably the smart thing to do when you could just call and hire a plumber? It probably makes more sense. But really, to wrap it up, like the key is just to start. And if starting from a fitness perspective means like just going outside and walking for 30 minutes, great. Like that is awesome. Like do it. Don't think that you need to go all in and work out 5, 6, 7 days a week or even join a gym to get results. Like there's plenty of free fitness and free opportunities that if you just got up, walked for 30 minutes a day as a starting baseline, you can then build up from there and then venture into all the other things.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think that's probably going to be the overall theme of this podcast with you, Dave, is just like, you got to get in, get your feet wet. And, you've seen this quote before, probably online or maybe not, but it's like your first podcast is going to suck. Your first workout's going to suck. Your first day on the job is probably going to suck, if you're getting training and stuff like that. But, I think the biggest thing for a lot of people is just that getting started. That's kind of half the battle. There's my GI Joe reference right there.
Yeah, but it's true, right?
Yeah.
100%.
All right. I'll close with two things. First a statement, then lastly I'll let you have the last word. Um, and that's greatness, right? Like I was driving home from church on Sunday, and I was trying to tell my wife, or my wife and I were talking. We were trying to tell the kids, like, greatness, it just doesn't happen overnight. Like we don't typically meet someone that's just great, off the bat for no reason. It's typically years of experience, right? And data collection, trial and error, and learning from parents and loved ones and teachers and coaches and mentors. The list goes on and on. Like we kind of got chatting about how our lives have been blessed because of the gifts and talents of other people. And that goes back for generations and generations, like even to people that you and I have never met because they preceded us, our ancestors. So, greatness doesn't just happen. That's kind of my statement. And then two questions for you. How can people get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you, Dave, and be a part of Soldier Fit?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Instagram is always a good one. Dave Posin is my Instagram handle. You can find me on Facebook, Dave Posin. Dave at soldierfit.com is my email. Feel free to reach out if you got any questions. Soldierfit.com is the website. For anybody who's interested, you can certainly, fill out for a free pass or something like that. Just mention you heard me on the Level Up podcast, and I'll make sure I take care of you.
Sweet. All right, then this is the last question I have for you, and we can wrap it up. And I appreciate you, Dave, taking time out of your day to be here. When you are, let's say 45 years from now, we're having a funeral for Dave Posin, and your grandkids are there, your parents or your kiddos are there. What do you want your legacy to be? What are people going to say about you? What do you want your kids to say about you? And what do you want your legacy to be?
So that's a phenomenal question. Something I really never ever thought about. I just want to be, I guess, like salt of the earth. You ever heard that phrase? Like just a good guy, a real honest, trustworthy guy that cared about others, took care of his family, took care of his friends. I guess that would be the legacy. You talk to anybody who has done great things, and when they're on their deathbed, they don't say, "Oh well, I wish I made more money," or "I wish I worked harder in my job." it always translates back to like, I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish I spent more time with my friends. I wish I, mended some of these relationships that, were broken. If I could go back and change those things, I would. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think just being a good person. I mean, I don't really care to leave some crazy legacy or be known for anything, great. If it happens, it happens. I'm confident, we're going to do great things and I'm going to be able to change a lot of lives for the better. And I think we're doing that with Soldier Fit and through fitness, through our franchise owners and, all the staff that work here, providing opportunities for them. So, if that answers your question, that's it.
Yeah, it definitely does. Loving your neighbor, loving your fellow man, serving your community. I mean, those are all great answers. I was actually on a coaching call right before I hopped on this call, and I was telling this guy who I look up to, and I can see great things ahead in his future. But I was like telling him that he needs this work life balance a little bit better, and that I said, you want to know who's going to remember you working late 10 years from now? And he's like, my kids. So work life balance, and like you said, we're never going to be on our deathbed saying, "Oh, I wish I would have worked more time at my job." That's not going to
And,
happen.
and with that said, like there's seasons to everything. And so does like full balance exist? I don't think in a condensed period of time, I don't think it exists 50-50. Because there are going to be times in your business where, look, the season of growth calls for more of your time. So you might take 90-10-80-20. You're just fully focused on the business. And then another season might call for, okay, this is either maintenance or scale back time, where now my family and my relationships and my friends are going to get 80-20. So over an extended period of time, that's where balance should lie. But I think it is like a false expectation that like everything is going to lie in like perfect balance. Like, okay, I'm going to
Yeah,
spend 5 hours with my family and 5 hours at work. And I think that making sure that you have the right partner is so important to understand like, okay, like I can support you in this dream. And I understand that it's going to take a lot more of your time now, and being on the same page of saying like, okay, this isn't going to be forever, right? We're building this for us to have a better life together. Does that make sense?
yeah, and actually, on that note, and we can close on this, and I'm sure your wife will appreciate this. You talk about that partner in your better half. Guys like us, where we've reached a level of success. I feel like I've done fine in real estate, but I know I wouldn't be where I am without a wife at home who's, the MVP, most valuable parent, and holding down the fort. So how about you take a moment and you can tell us a little bit more about your wife and how she supports you so you can do what you do best.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Today is our 11th year wedding anniversary.
All right. This is, the spirit was just like, hey, ask Dave. Here we go.
That's it. No, I mean she's freaking a rock star, and she works a full-time job. She's a part owner in a mortgage company, and I mean, God, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without her. As far as like her support with the kids, her it's more of just like an understanding of, you know, if I'm going through a stressful time or if work requires that much more out of me, that she'll just automatically step up. She won't make me feel guilty about it. I think is so important. A lot of times in these relationships, it's like, okay, well, I let you do this. I say let you do this, right? I'm going to support you doing it, but it's going to come with strings because I'm going to let you know every time something goes wrong, you know, that
Throw it in your
you
face.
right, exactly. And I think that it's so important that you find someone that doesn't do it. But at the same time, like I need to be able to step up as a husband. I need to step up as a father as well. Because it's not a one-way street. So as much as I say, like, it is important for her to support me, like I have to do my job and make sure that she feels supported too. Make
Yeah.
sure she feels confident, make sure she feels at least appreciated for all of the hard work. And a lot of times, like, and I've been guilty of this too, like life is just going so fast, you forget to take that moment to just say thank you. Like I appreciate everything that you're doing. Those little positive reinforcement things are just going to drive everything. Making sure that, in a relationship, you guys are on the same page, right? Because a lot of times people just miss each other, you know? And if you talk about work and ownership, I think a lot of times, like, people that have jobs and are owners, like, they don't understand why they're doing this. Like, if you asked a business owner, why are you working? Like, why do you have a company? Most of them wouldn't be able to answer that. So I think taking time with your significant other to goal plan your future, and create that vision of what life is going to look like currently, but also 5-10 years from now is super, super important, because especially as business owners, or anyone watching it, like, you do that for your business. Like, think about it. We goal plan all the time. I'm sure you do too in your real estate business, right? You're planning Q2, you're planning Q4. What's your 5 year? What's your 10 year plan? But, like, do you ever step back and do you ever do that with your family? Like, maybe you do, right? But most people don't. And I
Yeah.
think it's something that's very, very overlooked.
Yeah, you know what they say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Just yesterday, I'm trying to like plan out for summertime next year, and I'm like, all right, babe, Lake Powell, Utah, Lake Tahoe, back, and like, but not even just that. I'm trying to like look bigger picture and say, hey, you know, let's get out of the country. Let's take the kids and experience new cultures and stuff like that. I mean, I love what you said, and if anyone's not doing that, that's like where you got to start. Is just basic is planning, getting on the same page. And it's not 50-50. I'm not going to give 50 and she's going to give 50. It's like, no, you both need to give 100%. And there's this thing in our, we talk about it, my wife and I, it's like, if our marriage is like a triangle, like here's me, here's her, and the closer, and here's God up here. The closer we get to God, the closer we're going to get to each other. And be supportive of each other, and forgiving of each other, and on the same page, and just more synchrony, right, in our relationship, and we're going to be better parents and better neighbors, and the list goes on and on. So,
Love
Dave,
it.
you're a stud, man. I appreciate you taking the time. As I asked you what you wanted your legacy to be, I think you're doing that. You're helping people, with their bodies, and helping them with their minds, and again, being better members of their community. So I think you're well on your way to creating that legacy that you desire. But thank you for hopping on, and we'll have to do it again soon.
Appreciate you, Josh. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Okay. Real quick, I want to say thank you for tuning in, and also ask for a favor. If you enjoyed the show, I'd ask that you would hit the subscribe button. It helps us scale the guests, it helps us grow the production. And if you really enjoyed it, please consider donating to the show by finding me on Venmo at Josh-Pratt. That's at JOSH-PRATT. I will repay your kind gesture by making sure that this show gets better and better. Thank you so much.